The stars outside the shuttle window began to change. What was once dark and dangerous space now shimmered with golden clouds and bright planets. They had entered Jarathi space, the territory of Princess Ilari's people, but there was no welcome. Instead, they saw wreckage, destroyed satellites, burnt ships, and strange black ships circling near the borders. Inside the shuttle, Sergeant Marcus Vale leaned forward in his seat, checking the radar. "Something's wrong," he said. Beside him, Princess Ilari narrowed her eyes. "These aren't our ships. They're Creel's survivors. Pirates must have sent word before he died." Marcus tightened his grip on the controls. "They're trying to block us from reaching the homeworld." Ilari nodded. "They know I'm alive, and they want to stop me." Marcus glanced at her. "We've come too far to stop now." As they flew closer to Jarath Prime, the princess's homeworld, warning lights flashed across the shuttle's dashboard. "Lock-on detected, missile incoming." Marcus acted fast. "Hold on." The shuttle spun hard to the left. The missile followed. The engines screamed. The rear wing was hit and fire shot through the hull. Alarms wailed. The ship shook violently. Panels burst. Smoke filled the cockpit. Ilari fell against the wall. Marcus grabbed her just before another explosion rocked the shuttle. "We're hit bad," he said. "We have to land now." Ilari coughed. "We won't make it to the capital." "I know." With great effort, Marcus steered the burning shuttle toward a mountain ridge just outside the royal city. The ship crashed through trees, skidded across rocks, and finally slammed into the ground with a loud boom. Metal bent. Fire spread. Silence. Then, movement. Marcus pulled himself from the wreckage. His arm was burned. His uniform was torn. He coughed and limped to the back of the shuttle. "Ilari!" he shouted. She was trapped under a fallen beam. Her eyes were open, but she was too weak to move. Without a second thought, Marcus lifted the beam with all his strength. His arm shook. His vision blurred. But he did it. He pulled her free and carried her out of the wreck. They walked through the thick forest, slow, painful steps. Smoke rose behind them. The crashed shuttle glowed orange in the distance. Enemy ships flew overhead, searching. "We have to get to the palace," Marcus said, helping her walk. "It's the only place left that's secure." Ilari looked at him, her voice weak. "You don't have to do this." "I told you," he said. "I finish what I start." She smiled, barely. As they neared the capital walls, a squad of Jarathi soldiers appeared from the shadows, weapons raised. "Halt!" one of them shouted. "Identify yourself." Marcus stepped forward. "She's Princess Ilari. She's alive." The soldiers hesitated. Their eyes widened. They scanned her face, her body, and then dropped to one knee. One soldier spoke into a comm. "Confirmed. The princess lives. Repeat. The princess lives." Inside the golden walls of the capital, news spread like lightning. The lost princess has returned. The humans saved her. The queen is waiting. The palace doors opened. Inside, Queen Zelthari stood at the center of the great hall. Her silver blue skin shimmered. Her crown glowed again, just a little. When she saw Ilari in Marcus's arms, tears filled her eyes. "Mom," Ilari whispered, her voice trembling. The queen stepped down from her throne faster than any had seen her move in years. She ran, and then, mother and daughter embraced. Ilari sobbed. "I thought I'd never see you again." "My child," the queen whispered. "You are home." Marcus stepped back quietly, but the queen turned to him. Her voice shook. "You brought her back. You saved what I thought was lost forever." Marcus nodded, tired. "I made a promise." The queen looked at him with soft eyes. "No medal, no gift, no words can repay what you've done." Marcus smiled faintly. "Then don't, just take care of her." But peace was short. One of the royal guards rushed in. "Your Majesty, enemy forces are gathering at the outer gates. The pirates who followed Creel, they're planning a final attack. Marcus sighed. Of course they are. Hilary turned to her mother. Let me help. I can connect with the hive. They will listen to me now. The queen hesitated. You are not ready. I have to try, Hilary said. If we stand together, we can stop them. Marcus stepped forward. She's right. Moments later, Hilary stood in the royal courtyard glowing with psychic energy. Her people surrounded her. Warriors, workers, young and old. They all watched in silence. She closed her eyes and sent out a mental call. Not words, not commands, but hope, unity, power. Across the planet, Jarathi hives stirred. Lights lit, up in towers. Shields activated. Ships launched from hidden vaults. The hive had awakened. When the pirates arrived, they expected an easy win. Instead, they were met with fury. Jarathi warriors filled the sky. Hive ships flew like living beasts. The enemy fleet was cut down one by one, no mercy, no escape. Marcus stood beside the queen on the palace tower, watching the battle. She did it, he said. The queen smiled. No, you did it. He looked at her. Me? You reminded her who she was. You gave her strength. Marcus looked back at the sky where Hilary flew with the fleet in a living starship. I just brought her home. By nightfall, the pirates were gone. Jarathi lit up the skies with lights and songs. A festival was held in the capital. Food, music, and joy returned after so many dark years. Marcus stood in the crowd, a little awkward, a little apart. He wasn't used to attention. Then Hilary found him. She wore royal armor now, glowing softly with golden lines. Her eyes sparkled. You're not leaving without saying goodbye, are you? She asked. He smiled. Was thinking about it. She stepped closer. Stay. For a while. You're a hero here. I'm just a soldier. No, she said. You're the man who saved a world. Marcus didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. And stayed. To be continued in Part 5. The Promise Fulfilled. Would you like me to write the final part, Part 5? Now? You said, Part 5, 1000 words ka lekho, or interesting hona chahiye, or third-person style ma lekhni ha, or simple basic English ka. The skies above Zarath Prime were finally clear. The war was over. The pirates had been defeated. The Jarathi hive had awakened, stronger and united under one voice, Princess Hilary. In the great crystal palace, lights shimmered. Music floated in the air. For the first time in many years, laughter returned to the city. But in one quiet room far from the celebration, Sergeant Marcus Vale sat alone, packing a small bag. His uniform was cleaned, his wounds healed, but something inside him felt unfinished. He had done what he came to do. He had brought the lost daughter home. Now it was time to go. As he closed the bag, the door behind him opened. Princess, Hilary entered quietly. You're really leaving? She asked. Marcus nodded. The fight's done. This isn't my world. Hilary stepped forward, her silver blue skin glowing softly in the light. You could stay. There's peace now. My mother would welcome you in the Royal Guard, or even as an ambassador. Marcus smiled. I'm not good with politics, I'm a soldier, and there are still people out there who need help. Hilary lowered her eyes. So that's it? He looked at her gently. I told your mother I'd bring you home, and I did, promise fulfilled. She came closer. You did more than that. You gave me hope when I had none. You risked your life. Again and again. Marcus looked down. You gave me something, too, he said. A reason to fight, not just orders, but something that mattered. There was silence for a moment. Then Hilary asked, Will I ever see you again? Marcus paused. Maybe. The stars are big, but not endless. She smiled sadly. I'll wait. she whispered. He reached out and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Don't wait too long, he said. Live. Lead your people. Be the queen they need. She nodded, but her eyes glistened. And then he walked past her. As Marcus made his way to the shuttle port, Queen Zelthari stood at the landing deck. She was dressed in her royal robe, her crown shining. Around her stood guards, ministers and warriors. You are leaving us, Marcus Vale, she said, her voice calm. I must, he said. The queen raised a hand. Then take this, she said, holding out a glowing pendant. It was shaped like a star, humming with soft energy. What is it? Marcus asked. A beacon. If ever you're in danger, or if your heart calls you back to us, this will guide the way. Marcus took it and bowed his head. Thank you, Your Majesty. You are always welcome on Jarath, she said. Not as a guest, but as one of us. He smiled, then turned and stepped onto the shuttle. As the ship lifted into the sky, Ilari watched from her balcony. She said nothing, but deep in her mind, her connection to the hive whispered something she didn't expect. The thread is not broken. She closed her eyes and held on to that thought. 1 year later, across the galaxy, new stories spread of a human soldier seen helping refugees on the war-torn moon of Raylos, of a man who saved a burning colony from raiders on Kezar 3, of a shadowy figure who stopped an alien smuggling ring on the black market hub of Laxus. They called him many things: the Ghost, the Shield, the Last Honest Man, but one name followed him everywhere: the man who brought the princess home. Back on Jarath Prime, the city flourished. Princess Ilari had grown stronger. She now led with confidence, her voice reaching all corners of the hive. She ended old rivalries, forged new peace treaties, lifted the weak and punished the cruel. But each night she saw the blackness of deep space stretched in all directions like an endless ocean. Stars were tiny lights, too far to touch, too quiet to speak. Inside a small, silent stealth ship, Sergeant Marcus Vale sat alone. He wore dark combat gear and a headset, linked to the shuttle's AI. His eyes were focused, hands steady on the controls as the ship slipped past old battle wreckage and the remains of broken moons. He had entered the Abyss sector. No patrols, no law, only pirates, warlords, and monsters from old wars hiding in the shadows. The place was like a graveyard, or a trap. AI status? Marcus whispered. The calm female voice replied, no threats detected. Passive scan only. Cloak active. Good, keep it that way. Marcus looked at the screen. He had a weak signal from Princess Ilari's psychic trace. It flickered like a dying star, there one moment, gone the next. But it was enough. He followed it. After 14 hours of silent flying, Marcus arrived at the edge of a dead moon, Kaeldorn. It was ugly, cracked like an eggshell covered in smoke and metal. There were mining rigs, weapons platforms, and a giant fortress built into the mountain. Above it all flew a rusted symbol, the mark of warlord Rythan Creel. Creel was infamous. Part cyborg, part insectoid, part nightmare. He ruled this moon with terror. And if rumors were true, he had a lab inside where he experimented on captured Jarathi, trying to unlock their psychic powers. It had to be where Ilari was being held. Marcus landed the ship inside a frozen crater. He powered down everything, grabbed his gear, and moved out. No backup. Just him, a blade, a stolen map, and his promise to the Queen. The outer tunnels of the base were dark and cold. Marcus crept through broken pipes and narrow shafts. He saw no guards, but he heard them, loud insect voices, heavy metal footsteps, and strange mechanical sounds. At one point, he paused behind a wall as a massive figure walked past. It was a cyberhound, part machine, part beast. Its claws scratched the floor, and its red eyes glowed in the dark. Marcus held his breath. His hand gripped his plasma blade, but he didn't move. The creature sniffed the air, then walked on. He waited 10 more seconds before crawling forward again. Inside the fortress, things were worse. He passed rooms filled with cages, some holding alien prisoners, others empty but bloodstained. The air smelled like oil and fear. Then he saw it. Through a glass window in a medical room sat Princess Ilari. She was chained to a chair. Her silver blue skin was dim. Her antennae drooped. Tubes ran from her arms into machines that hummed softly. Her eyes were closed, but she was alive. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. Quiet, hot anger. He scanned the room. 2 guards. A tech working on a console. A camera. He had to act fast. He reached into his belt, pulled out a small EMP dart, and fired it at the wall panel. The lights flickered. The camera died. Then, like lightning, Marcus burst through the door. In one smooth motion, he threw a blade into the chest of the first guard, grabbed the second by the head, and slammed him into the wall. The tech screamed and reached for a blaster, but Marcus was faster. He stunned him with an electric shock from his glove. Silence. He moved to Ilari. Her eyes fluttered open weakly. "You, not Jarathi." "I'm human," Marcus said gently, cutting her chains. "Your mother sent me." "Why? Help." He lifted her carefully, her body light but trembling. "Because no one else would." Alarms began to ring. The EMP had triggered security. Marcus threw Ilari's arm over his shoulder and ran. Sirens screamed. Footsteps echoed behind them. Metal doors slammed shut ahead. He pulled her into a side tunnel. Dim lights flashed red. The wall shook. Creel's voice echoed through the base. "Intruder! Lock all exits! Do not let them escape! The girl is mine!" Ilari looked up at Marcus. He wants my mind, my blood. He thinks he can control the hive with it." Marcus gritted his teeth. "Not today." They reached an old maintenance shaft. Marcus kicked open the hatch, shoved Ilari inside first, then crawled after her. Behind them, guards shouted and fired energy blasts. One shot grazed Marcus's leg. He hissed in pain but kept moving. The shaft led into a storage room. Marcus found a vent system and crawled in with Ilari. Dusty, narrow, filled with spider-like creatures, but it was cover. In the dark, Ilari whispered, "You risked your life for me." Marcus said nothing. After a moment, she added, "Thank you." He nodded. "We're not safe yet." After hours of crawling and hiding, they reached a hangar. A small alien shuttle sat parked. No guards. Marcus helped Ilari inside, quickly powering the ship. As it rose, turrets opened fire. He dodged left, then right. The ship shook, but he flew through. Just before they escaped the moon's gravity, a giant figure appeared on the comm screen. Creel himself. Tall, armored, half of his face replaced with metal. "You think you've won, human? I will tear you apart and take back what is mine." Marcus stared at the screen, his voice cold. "You'll never touch her again." And he cut the feed. They flew into deep space, silent again, safe for now. Ilari lay on the cot in the back of the ship, breathing slowly, her hand clutching the photo chip Marcus had brought. Marcus sat at the controls, leg bleeding, eyes tired but alert. He looked at the stars ahead. He had her. Now he had to get her home. And he would. No matter what. To be continued in Part 3. The Fire in Flesh. Part 3. The Fire in Flesh. The stolen alien shuttle moved quietly through deep space. Inside, Sergeant Marcus Vale checked the controls. The engines were hot, the shields weak, and fuel was low. Not good. But they were still alive. That was something. Behind him, Princess Ilari lay on a medical cot. Her silver blue skin had lost its glow. Her breathing was shallow, and her antennae twitched with pain. Wires and tubes had left marks on her arms, but her mind was sharp and she was awake. "Where are we?" she asked softly. "Somewhere between Creel's moon and the nearest relay station," Marcus said, trying to stay off the grid. Ilari tried to sit up but winced. He's going to follow us. I know. Suddenly, a loud ping came from the dashboard. Marcus looked up. A small fleet of ships had appeared on the scanner, Creel's men, fast and armed. They had tracked the shuttle's weak signature. Damn it, Marcus said, turning the ship sharply. The shuttle rocked as enemy blasts hit the rear. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Ilari grabbed the side rail, struggling to keep steady. We can't outrun them, she said. Then we don't, Marcus answered. We hide. He dived the ship into a nearby asteroid field, giant floating rocks spinning in deep space. The enemy followed, but their larger ships were slower. Marcus flew like a madman, left, right, under one rock, over another. His hands moved fast across the controls. Ilari watched in shock as he skimmed the ship within inches of a jagged wall. You're insane, she muttered. Better crazy than dead, Marcus replied. After several tense minutes, the shuttle powered down and floated silently in the shadow of a massive asteroid. Engines cold, lights off. The enemy ships scanned the area. For a moment it looked like they would find them. But then, they passed by, not seeing the hidden shuttle. Marcus exhaled slowly. That was too close. Ilari looked at him. You saved me again. I made a promise, he said. Then he limped. His leg was still bleeding from the earlier blast. Ilari's antennae twitched. You're hurt. Just a scratch. No, it's worse. Let me help. She reached out. Her hands glowed faintly. She touched his leg and Marcus felt a warm sensation spread. The bleeding slowed. Pain faded. The Jarathi had healing powers, but only in small amounts. He blinked. Thanks. You saved me. I returned the favor. While Marcus patched up the ship, Ilari tapped into the shuttle's mind-link system. Jarathi ships were alive, grown from biotech. With her thoughts, she could connect to its memories. She whispered to it and the ship responded. I found something, she said later. A jump point. A hidden gate not on your star maps. It leads closer to my home world. Marcus nodded. Show me. They followed the hidden coordinates. The ship slipped through a narrow path in space and entered a glowing blue portal. In seconds, they were far from the asteroid field. But peace didn't last. A message flashed on the screen. Incoming. Warlord Creel's personal ship approaching. He had found them again. Creel's vessel was a monster twice the size of theirs, covered in red lights and sharp metal spikes. His voice came through the speakers, cold and full of hate. You run well, human, but this is the end. Return the girl and I may let you live. Marcus stood between Ilari and the screen. She's not yours, he said. She's going home. Creel laughed. She is the key to controlling the Jarathi hive. Her mind is a weapon. You don't even know what she is. She's a daughter. That's all I need to know. The warlord roared, and his ship opened fire. The mill shuttle shook violently. The shields dropped to 40%. Sparks flew again. Warning lights flashed red across the screen. We can't survive this, Ilari said, holding on to the seat. Marcus gritted his teeth. Yes, we can, but I need your help. She looked confused. You said the ship responds to your mind. Can you take control? I can try. She closed her eyes and placed her hands on the control pod. The Shao, the twin sons of Virelion, sat behind the shattered spires of the Jarathi capital. Once a shining jewel in the galaxy, the planet now wore scars of war. Smoke still curled into the sky. Broken towers leaned like old men, and the air carried the bitter smell of ash and loss. Inside the grand palace, Queen Zelthari stood alone. She was tall, insectoid, with silver-blue chitin that glowed faintly in the dark. Her 6 delicate arms hung limp at her sides. Her crown, made of crystal grown from the planet's core, had dulled since the Civil War. Her once strong voice now trembled as she whispered a name. Ilari. Princess Ilari, her only daughter, had been missing for weeks, kidnapped during the uprising. The queen had searched every system, hired bounty hunters, and even opened her mind in psychic pain across the stars. But she felt nothing. No trace of her daughter. only silence. Her people whispered that Ilari was dead. The Queen refused to believe it. In a nearby chamber, human soldiers sat in silence. They were guests, part of a special unit sent by the United Human Coalition to help rebuild and keep peace. Most aliens still didn't trust humans. They were new to the stars, aggressive, emotional, but they were also brave. And one of them was Sergeant Marcus Vale. Marcus leaned on a railing, watching the Queen from a high balcony. He wasn't tall or flashy. His uniform was torn, dusty from fieldwork. He had a tired face, a rough jaw, and eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. In his hand was a datapad, glowing with reports, pirate movement, dead-end clues, and the same result every time. No sign of the princess. Behind him, his friend Lieutenant Sanvi Chen spoke softly. "She's a queen. She'll recover." "These people are tougher than they look." Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he walked down the stairs, step by step, until he reached the Queen's hall. The Jarathi guards moved to stop him, but Zelthari raised a hand. "Let him come," she said. Her voice was cold but curious. Marcus stopped a few feet away and looked up at her. "I read your reports," he said. "Your daughter's psychic trace was last picked up in the Abyss sector. That's pirate space. No one goes there, not even bounty hunters." The Queen lowered her gaze. "Then she is gone." Marcus shook his head. "No, she's alive. I don't know how I know, but I feel it." She tilted her head, studying him. "Why would a human soldier care for the life of an alien princess?" Marcus looked away, remembering something. A flash of fire, a scream, another life he couldn't save. "Made a promise once," he said. "This time I won't break it." He dropped to one knee. "Let me go. I'll bring her back." Silence filled the hall. Zelthari, for the first time in her rule, broke her composure. Her antennae drooped. Her hands shook. She stepped forward, and something glittered at the corner of her eye. A tear, the first anyone had seen from a Jarathi queen. "If you try," she said quietly, "and fail, you may never return." "I know," Marcus said. "If you succeed, you'll have changed the fate of two worlds." He stood. "I don't need a medal." She nodded once. "Then go, human. Find my daughter." Later that night, Marcus sat in his quarters preparing his gear. Stealth armor, a short plasma blade, translation module, one medkit, one tracker. He left behind medals, pictures, everything personal. He was going into deep space. No backup, no glory, no guarantee he'd... Live, Chen walked in. "You're really going?" Marcus nodded. "You're insane. I've been called worse." She handed him a small photo chip. "Use this. It's a recent image of Ilari. May help with ID scans." He nodded. "Thanks. You know, if anyone can pull this off, it's you." He smiled faintly. "Let's hope." The next morning, the launch pad was empty except for Marcus and a small stealth shuttle. He looked up once more at the sky, blue and cracked with storm clouds, and climbed in. As the engines hummed to life, his voice echoed across the private channel to the palace. "I'll bring her home. I promise." Above him in the tower, Queen Zelthari stood still, and for the first time since the war ended, hope returned to her heart.